Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. In that case, let me get streaming started and then we'll hit record and then get the meeting started here. Almost on time. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, good evening.
Hi, Jeff.
All right.
Evening.
All right, let me hit record. All right, we're recording. Everybody's on at 7:30. So we will call the November 9th, 2020 council meeting to order at 7:30. And we will start tonight with prayer and then the pledge. Say, Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed
be thy
be
name.
thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Kingdom come,
thy will be done
will be done,
as it is in
earth
heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us today our daily bread,
Daily bread.
and forgive us
Today our
Forgive
daily
us our trespasses
forgive those who trespass against us.
trespass against
And
us.
lead us not into
Lead us not
temptation,
to temptation.
but deliver us from
Deliver us
evil.
from evil.
Kingdom,
Thine is the
and the
kingdom,
power,
the power,
glory,
and the glory
forever.
forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the
to the
republic
For
for
which
which it
which
stands,
stand
one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty,
justice,
justice for all. All right. Roll call, please.
Cosgray, present.
Foreman,
Present.
Hamilton,
Present.
Hankinson,
Present.
Keller,
Present.
McCreary,
Present.
Oh, all right. That's everyone. So everyone's here. Let's have a meeting. First item is approval of the October 12th. Is that correct? October 12th? That should be October
26.
26th. Yep. October 26th council meeting minutes.
Everything looked good to me. I make a motion we approve as written.
All right.
I second
I'll
it.
second it.
Oh, Foreman motion. McCreary got the second in before Keller. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none. Roll call.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Cosgray,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
All right. The minutes will be approved as written. Moving on, approval of tonight's agenda. I don't have any amendments.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's a shock. No amendments tonight. So is there a motion?
Well, in that case, I'll move that we approve the agenda as printed in email.
Foreman seconds.
All right. Keller motion, Foreman second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Okay, Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Cosgray,
Yes.
and Hamilton.
Yes.
All right. Agenda is approved. Next item is visitors. I just checked before we started the stream and the recording in the meeting, and I had no emailed comments yet. So we will move on to village administration reports. My report, I'll keep it short because I want to make sure we have time to discuss something. But as everyone knows, unfortunately, our water levy failed. Last I looked, it was about a 290 vote difference from in favor to opposed. So for now, we will keep doing what we've been doing to repair the water lines as the funding is available. Something we could keep in mind since, I mean, there were a lot of people that voted in favor of it. One thing to keep in mind, we wouldn't have to act immediately, but relatively soon if we wanted to consider putting it on the March ballot. I only mention that because Lancaster put their income tax levy on the ballot 3 times before it passed. So just something to keep in mind if we want to talk about that. We've got most of the back end work already done with the language. We would just have to fill as opposed to tables. But for right now, obviously just, our tables that we usually need around will work and have a much bigger space.
And
So,
I want to talk to this drawing too. Even after this was done and I gave it to the mayor, we have decided that the internal walls to have a hallway wouldn't be necessary and would give us more meeting space. So the offices would just have doors on them, much like when you walk into the office now and, come in the doorway where my office is and the mayor's, and they all have doors. This is just the first sketch through. Like the mayor said, we have a short timeline. I still think it's doable. I've reached out to Bird and Bull, who will help us with the project and who will give me someone who will draw it up. So the first drawing would just be what I call phase 1, which would be the meeting room itself. Again, much of the work could be done by our staff.
and like Terry said, so we need to talk about this now, because if we're going to do this, I think we'll have to have a quick special meeting to have an ordinance to pass. Unless, Jeff, you think they'll be okay doing it by a motion and then doing an ordinance after the date?
No, I mean, that's a possibility. I don't think it's worth chancing that. I think it's better to have a special meeting and pass a detailed ordinance.
You need
Right.
an ordinance because the appropriations have not been established.
Okay. So we would have to have a special meeting to do that. And the flip side is if council decides not to do a building, we need to have the discussion about what we want to spend this money on that we could spend it on. Because if we don't spend it, we have to give it back. And so we have this opportunity.
Right. And we are limited on what we can spend this money on. So in other words, when Brian was talking about being short on wages and sewer, we can't put it into the general budget. It has to be a designated project that falls within anything to do with COVID. So it does limit the use. We are not the only village or entity that is struggling with this. A lot of them are saying, well, what am I going to use the money for? You give them a short list and then again, the money goes back to the county.
Yeah. And so there are other things, and we can discuss those if you want, but when Terry and I were talking and space is a consideration, we thought that maybe a potential building would be the best use for that and allow us to expand. So questions, thoughts, agreement, disagreement? Should we talk about, I'm just opening it up now, guys and ladies.
Are you going to tear down the old building, Jeff?
No, we would that would become a part of the complex, right?
Okay.
Right, because there is actually once the two buildings were connected, there is some office space availability and record space availability in the old firehouse as well.
Well, my opinion is, we've talked about this years ago about having our own, office building. So I think it's something to look into. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
That's what it does is that the majority of the expense is going to be paid for through these funds and not out of our general fund or et cetera.
Yeah, I think we ought to take advantage of it.
I think so too.
All right. Rick, Bob, Wade, Randy.
Look at the building we're in
Bob
and
said
how
it's
large
okay.
it is. And wouldn't we be better off to maybe invest the money in the building we're in upstairs? Or I mean, I don't know. Are we abandoning the building we're in and going somewhere else? And if so, should it maybe include a northern outpost for the sheriff or something like that? Because they really don't need to be in Pickerington. So I guess
I think we have options
if we do
with
this, I
our
don't want to
building.
think small ball.
You don't want what?
I guess what you're proposing right now, I don't care for. I just, keeping the old firehouse, I think is not a building that's all that great. I mean, it's kind of nice to have it for posterity, but it's not that good of a structure. And then trying to build a building to fit that or match that or add on to that, it's like right on the main drag in town. I guess we'd have to move so fast that I'm not sure we would do it in a way that is respectful to the main drag, respectful to the citizens. And I mean, I think we need to figure out a way to spend this money wisely, but what I'm hearing isn't something that I'm excited about. I'd like to be excited about. That's all.
All right. Wade?
What about out there at Alt Park? We have land out there we can put it?
Well, this is the trouble with Alt Park. There is no sewer and there's no water. So to erect a building out there would be a major infrastructure project because we would be, putting those facilities out there. And this would be, okay, so that's the answer to your question, Wade.
Cool.
Which is also something that has been brought to my attention lately, that there is a commercial company out there that is wanting to build a building that needs to get utilities that, in order to do it, I think they're going to have to annex. And because they're connected to Alt Park, because of the entrance from 158, they could actually annex. It's like, why don't we have utilities at Alt Park? It's like,
well, I think it comes down to money, Mr. Foreman. Those kind of infrastructure programs are not cheap. One of the things that we are trying to do, or I'm trying to do, and maybe it's not council's wishes, but my goal is not to take out any more debt than we already have. We do have a lot of debt right now, and I don't think adding to it is to your point, respectful of the residents. I haven't heard about this company that wants to move out there. I've heard about
not somebody that moves, somebody that wants to build more buildings and can't.
Oh, okay. And I haven't heard about that either.
But you are right, Rick. It is very fast, and we're not the only village with this issue of how do we get this done this quick. Bob, Brandy?
Yeah,
Was this yours, Bob? Oh,
go ahead.
Okay. Did you guys think about Johnson Park area next to the shelter house? Because it already has the bathrooms and the utilities there.
I'm not sure, Jeff, can we erect, we'd have to investigate to see if we can erect a village office on Johnson Park. Right, Jeff, or not?
Yeah, there are deed restrictions.
That's what I thought.
And I'd have to look into those. I can do that pretty quickly. I've circulated those copies of those deed restrictions in the past. So
I don't.
I recall that one of the deed restrictions is that it be used for recreational purposes. And if that is, if that's one of the deed restrictions, and I believe it is, then it may be problematic to use Johnson Park.
Unless we went to the...
I don't think that side of Johnson Park has the restrictions.
Well, and that's what I was just thinking, Bob. The part of the park, though, that doesn't have the restrictions, I think, is not where the water and sewer. It is where the shelter house is?
I don't think that has the restrictions on that part of it.
See, I thought the part of the park that didn't have the restrictions was further back by the ball diamonds and the giant grassy hill where they used to let the fireworks off from.
Okay. Well, that's possible.
I thought that was the part that didn't have the restrictions, but there's no utilities out there. So, Brandy?
Yeah, what's the current square footage of the village offices? And beyond that, my other open thought is parking would be a tremendous issue in that part of town.
Well, and we looked at the old fire station sits with a lot on each side. So the one lot would be the building and the other lot would then developed into a parking lot, which would give us a lot more parking than we have right now. So the dimensions of the office building that we currently aren't using aren't so much the dimensions of the building as the fact that we have those support walls that we can't do anything different than we're doing right now. So the size of the offices are a little smaller that we're proposing in phase 2. But the thing of it is, that's why we were marrying it to the fire station, because then that gives us an option again to have another office. We would have, that option. And I think, in talking to this gentleman that he could, so with landscaping and way that we put the siding on the building, it would marry right into to that location. We already have businesses surrounding it. This is a downtown mixed use area. We have older buildings across the street. I think it would be almost an economic boost for them to have something built on there. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the location would be great for the businesses in that area.
Yes.
I just, being that I pass that and I'm in that area quite a bit, it just seems like a pretty small area. That's just my thinking right now. So I think it's a great idea. I would love to go. Yes, I'm totally in support. I just, the size, the area in terms of lack of parking is something in my head. And I know that a timeline, obviously.
So I guess another idea just popped into my head with regards to space. Because Terry, when you and I talked, we talked about taking out the wall between the council chambers and the other conference room, or those rooms and where we keep the records. But the wall between the council chambers and where Barb sits, I don't know that that's a load-bearing wall. I think that's just a partition wall. And if that's the case, could it be possible to remove that wall, move and essentially shuffle offices on the other side of the wall? For instance, move my office more into the back by where the records are kept in that war room area, move you down a little bit, move Missy and Barb over to what is now essentially your office and my office. And then we have that entire side of the building, council chambers and Barb and Missy's area, as a council room.
I haven't looked, but that probably lines up with the front of the stage, so it could be a bearing wall.
Yes, I'm going to text Mr. Little right now. I had him do some work in there, and I'm going to ask him what he thinks. So if we would continue talking, I will have an answer for you in just a second.
Yeah, this is Cosgrave here.
Okay.
I am in favor of building a building but I'm not real crazy about the location. Are there any other village land like next to the water treatment plant or out by the wastewater treatment plant?
I think Basel Park looks, Basel Park.
Well, one of the ones one of the ones Terry and I talked about just this afternoon when we were talking about this was the ability to maybe build onto the water treatment plant or out to the wastewater plant. Now, wastewater plant is less convenient for everybody in the village that wants to come in and pay their bills and have business to do. Water plant at least keeps it somewhat in the village. I mean, it's roadside, but it's not. I don't think it's as inconvenient as going out to the wastewater plant. Again, the plus side to the location where we were looking at was if we kept the old firehouse to be able to connect it and have that. But if we're not going there, you know, there is room, I think, at the water plant.
The only reason
be
I
there.
don't like, right, and the only reason I don't like the water plant or the wastewater plant is it does take us out of downtown.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I don't think you want the main office in the at the sewer plant. I just don't think that would go very good.
so some of the other things then, since we're not all set on a building, some of the other things that popped up were we can't use the money for things that we had already budgeted. And we might have a problem. I know, and Terry and I are talking about this, it'd be a problem I'd be willing to take on. But for the next couple of years, we have budgeted for radio read water meters. I think we've got $50,000 this year and $50,000 for next year. We can't use $50,000 for this year because that is already part of our budget. But the $50,000 for next year is just what we're planning on. So we could order those last bit of radio read water meters. Obviously, the intent behind them is so that our guys don't have to go into people's homes or near people's homes to read their water meters. The downside to that is we could probably get them in, but we could not get them installed by December 30th because it requires coordination with homeowners to get in, get protective gear, and get them installed. You know, that's an argument if the county wants their money back because of that I'm willing to, shout real loud at them about that it's just unrealistic. So come on.
But we're not sure that we can use the money for that. Again, that's something that
Correct.
we would have to look into. So I don't want to get your hopes up about that. And so Brian is not having, because Brian is going 50,000. I don't have that. I sure he is. What it is that Joey had estimated 20,000 for next year, but that did not include a new meter for the high school or for the laundromat and one more commercial property. So this was a total addition too. So it would be pretty close to what's outstanding for the residentials and for the commercials. It'd be pretty close to 40. Again, 108,000, we're spending 40,000 if we can do it. I don't know if we can.
Right. That one's close. The other thing that I saw that is a potential is a number of government entities, Fairfield County included, have been using this money to build their vehicle fleet, so that instead of sending where they send people out and we have the same issue, 2 people in a vehicle at a time, they now have sufficient number of vehicles to send everybody out. There is a request coming for, it would be nice for us to have a bucket truck. A bucket truck is a little different than, a Ford Focus for someone to go out in, like the county bought, but it is another vehicle that would mean all of our staff would have individual vehicles to go around in as opposed to having to double up. And since other municipalities and entities have bought vehicles, that one, I don't think the county would look quite as close at, since they themselves bought vehicles. So there is that possibility as well. And that, Terry, that bucket truck was 80,000. give or take. Uh-oh, we might have lost Terry. So.
That's because I was muted. I'm sorry. It was around 70. That was for a used one. But then again, I'm not so sure we can use this. I know the county did the replacement of fleets for something, but I'm not sure how they got through that with the CARES money. Again, that'd be something we would have to check into, but.
Well, I think that I didn't see the actual opinion that they got on what it went through, but from what I heard, it was instead of sending their teams out where they used to send them out in one vehicle, they can now send everybody out individually. It costs a little more in fuel for them, but everybody now has a vehicle so that their teams aren't riding together to help with that.
Okay, and so the answer to the question about a load-bearing wall, yes, it is. And I got that from Mr. Little, who just did an electrical outlet there, and also from Tim Streets.
Okay.
Tim Butcher. Sorry.
All right, so that option doesn't exist. So our council setup is what it is and isn't going to change.
Correct.
So, other thoughts, other ideas on do you have any ideas, council, on what we could, spend this money on so we don't have to give it back? Because we've been fortunate in what we've received so far to be able to do a lot of our IT stuff as well as a lot of the building modifications we've needed to get us through. So, ideas?
What's on the third floor over there, Mayor?
Right now it is, it's the old Masonic Lodge up there. It is in a giant open ballroom, like a kitchen dining area, a little bit of storage, pretty open area. If we were looking at that to function as a village office, the BDRC might grumble a little bit about that because I know eventually they want to obtain occupancy to be able to rent that out.
Well,
the windows
ADA
up there,
issues with that.
Well, the windows would need replaced. There's a fire door up there that needs replaced, but most importantly, we would have to dig out the old drawings for the elevator. It would have to be built on the side of it so that it would become accessible.
We have a ramp to the ballroom, but we don't have a way to get to the third floor.
Right. And I know there are drawings to install an elevator to the third floor for handicap and ADA compliance. I know they exist, but to get all of that done in the next 6 weeks is probably slim. And the elevator itself probably cost $100,000 or more.
Right.
You weigh in here, Brandy. I mean, council uses the building on Monday nights. It's not like it interferes with things that the BDRC does. It's not like we can't both use the ground floor level and not have any interference, I wouldn't think.
It's been used for meetings from time to time. So I guess I've kind of assumed you guys have already discussed that because I know a handful of the council meetings have been held there, or I should say the town hall meetings, not council necessarily.
I've done the town hall meetings on the main floor with the stage in the auditorium, but not the third floor upstairs.
Accessibility, I think, would be an issue on the third floor, but I think presently, as far as allowing
$100,000 to go a long way.
It definitely could easily be arranged on the stage or that area down on the floor that's in front of the stage easily. There is a bathroom in there, so there's a restroom facility. It is handicap accessible with the ramp that's outside there on the side. I think that building, that part of the building definitely could be used at this point for meetings, and again, allow an area for the council, and then for visitors could actually be seated out in front in the new seats.
I just want to say, first of all, that I have approached Steve, and Steve and I had talked about that. The only thing is that right now we would have to disinfect, or whatever you want to call it, anytime that we go in there to have a meeting, just because you really don't have that open to the public. And so that would be, that was the only thing that we talked about. So I don't want you to think that Steve has not been open to that, because.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I also think the 72-hour rule would stand too, though, unless you're going to have meetings back to back, which means if you have a meeting and then it is empty, remains empty for 72 hours. You're clear.
I wanted to give an update on the water treatment plant location. I'm talking now to Tim Butcher. He's saying that because of the setback distances for the wells, that there's not enough room to put a building out there. So because of the restrictions from the water wells. So just an update on that.
All right. Other thoughts, ideas? I hate to have $100,000 available to us and us not use it for something.
So how about, let's summarize. So I'm hearing 3 different options here. We heard first the office, we heard second the meters, and the third is the bucket truck.
But both the meters and the bucket truck are not, what I want to say, concrete. We'll have to do some investigation to see if we can do those. So the one option that is concrete is the office building. The other 2 are not. We would have to check to see if that is allowable expense.
Would you have to keep the entire old fire department building, or would you be able to raise that and then utilize parts of it and incorporate parts of it into a new building? I mean,
that was the idea of incorporating it into the new building.
But the whole building would have to remain. In other words, you couldn't keep.
First of all, it doesn't have to remain.
Yeah.
That was an option to keep the historical building.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't have to remain. We could eventually have maybe a phase 3 that says we're going to tear it down. But then again, understand that once we say we do it in phases, and phase 1 is to put this building up, and then we think, okay, well, let's tear the other one down. We have to have the money to do that, and raising a building does have cost to it.
Right.
So we would have to come up with those costs in order to raise the building. That would be the only thing in saying, yeah, let's tear the building down. I think it's a usable structure. I don't think it's usable as a fire station, but I think it's usable for record retention. I think it's usable for an office. I think all of those things would be valid and keep the historical look in that area.
Okay. So, but again, in other words, this has to be moved on very quickly. So.
Correct. That's the issue. And, it's not because we're just dropping this on you now. It's just the way that the state distributed the money with these deadlines. Now, there may be some more money come. Once it gets back to the county, there may be a way to get it from the county. I really don't know. And that it's a tough question when we have to go out to a legal group to get a legal opinion on how to spend the money, so it's not just us scratching our heads.
Here's a big question I have. When you say it has to be erected and meaningfully in place, could you define that? Does that just mean that the structure itself has to be in place? So in other words, what must be?
Brandy, it has to be meaningfully in use. Meaning
Okay.
the college would have to be using it not
by
just
that
have
point.
to be using it by December 31st.
Wow. Okay.
So we would have to have it up and have
Mhm.
an initial meeting in it, and
So-
and you know, say this is now our council chambers, and you know.
Right. And right now it's doable. I've talked to everyone and the timeline is tight, but it's doable. But the issue is that we'd have to act pretty quick on it. And if we can't get a vote of support to do it, then we just need
I
to move
love the
on.
idea of moving it. And I love the idea of having new offices. How do you see that the current offices could be utilized? I heard someone mention the, like an outpost for the sheriff's department.
Maybe we do this. We still have our police department. Maybe
Yes.
we say,
That's what I was
okay,
wondering.
Tim wanted more room, so maybe we give the police, and I'm just like off the cuff here. I've even
Right.
talked to the mayor or anything, but maybe we say, okay, so this is going to be all streets, and we move the police department down to those offices, which would be much better for them.
Well-
You know,
Which is where they were 20 years ago.
that's what I thought. I didn't want to say that, but I thought I was told that. So there's an option.
Yeah, one of the sides of the building used to be a garage. I can't remember if it's the side where our offices are or if it's the side where council chambers is, but there was a garage door on one side that the police parked in the
The
basement of the building.
southwest corner.
Looks like it goes right
Southwest corner.
I mean, if the money must be spent and it has to be tied to something, obviously for COVID relief, and we don't have the room in the current building, but I think we need to be able to say how that space is then going to be utilized once it's abandoned. What do you guys think?
I think you guys think you can build a building and have it usable in the next 50 days?
Well, according to Tim and and one of the people that could put it up, the answer is yes. I wouldn't present it if I wasn't confident in their
Am I
timeline
able to get the
ability.
name of the person who could put it up?
Well,
Sounds like-
first of all, it's a bid project. That is just who I got it from. So
And because it's a big project, that's why we need to act quick, because we need 2
Yes.
weeks and a day on
2
that.
weeks in a day.
Oh.
Correct.
It wouldn't even start until nearly December 1st.
I don't think so. I think
Yep.
they'll start before that.
Well, yeah, okay, third week of November. We're in the second week already.
Yep. Well, you got 2
Is
weeks
this a
out, so
structure without a
Thanksgiving before he
foundation?
does that.
Joking.
No, it would have a foundation, Brandy.
It was a joke.
Oh,
I got it.
It was
Now
a
I
good joke
get
too,
it.
Brandy. Thank
That
you.
was
very
A
good.
little levity here.
I'm just like,
Jeez.
wow.
I'm too focused.
Are there-
Yes.
Sorry.
Funny, Brandy.
How are the HVAC units at some of the other locations and stuff like that? Because I know there are municipalities using funds to upgrade their HVAC units to more high efficiency that includes the UV light, whatever they call it, to destroy viruses in it before it circulates
100%.
back in.
I 100% agree with you. And obviously, our offices, if you would just sit in there, you would know the carpet is 100 years old. It's full of mold and dust. And yes, it needs to be renovated, but that wasn't the focus of the project. The focus of the project was to find a room to have the meetings in, not, you know,
Right.
and so
Well,
the
I-
offices would be like a phase 2 in this.
Well, no, I'm talking about because there's hesitation towards building the building and can it get done in time and
Sure,
location
sure.
and looks and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, what else could we spend that money on?
Sure.
And if we're not going to build a building, can we use it to upgrade HVAC units? Does the one at the wastewater plant need upgraded? The one at the water plant should be good because that construction was just recently completed.
Yeah.
But, you know, and
You
then
can-
obviously the one at our building and the police department and the street barn.
Okay, so Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I really think there is something in there that says that we can't use the money to do any maintenance that we should have done or already did. So
I'm not talking maintenance we should have done. I'm talking about a replacement of an HVAC unit that has virus eradication measures or extra filters and UV lights to help eliminate recirculating the virus that's potentially in the air. It's not the yearly maintenance. It's to me, a COVID related modification.
Well, Mayor, I know most of them care money, and I applied for 2 of them through the VFW. A lot of them, there's a lot of fine print. You have where you can use it for. I know we got a grant for 5,000 out there. It was just for veterans organizations, and it spells it out exactly how you can spend it. So I'm sure this is the same thing. It's you can't just. You have to really read everything into it. You can spend this money for.
Well, and that's the problem, and that's why Bricker's out there doing all of these last minute demos, because all of this is coming out, and it has to be related to COVID related
COVID-19
measures, and so they have. There have been places where we can build a building to space it out. You can repair a roof over an office with an HVAC. I mean, these are ones that I know municipalities are doing. I know other municipalities are replacing HVAC units.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think we can sit here till we're all night. I think we just need to. Maybe find out more information. If we have to have a special meeting next week and say, okay, this is our option, A, B, and C, then let's do it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I just think we need to get all the nuts and bolts together and what we can really do and then move on it.
Well, let's do this then. What do we want Terry, and by Terry, I mean probably Jeff, to focus on? What projects, what expenditures do we want them to focus on, so that we can have another meeting, and so that they can say, yes, we could do all of these, or yes, we could do A, B, and C, but not X, Y, Z.
That's right. And I think if Terry come back and say, yes, we can build a building, we can spend it on HAV, or we can spend it on a backhoe or whatever. Yes, these are the things we can purchase or build, and then we need to just sit down inside and say, this is what we want to do. And this, hey, when the government gives me money, I want to spend it, because they don't give it to us very often. That's the way I am. If they're willing to give over $100,000, I want to take it.
So we want Terry and Jeff to look at, everything we've talked about. Then we know we can build the building. We want to look at water meters, bucket truck, and HVAC units.
Yeah, that's fine. If we can do it, and if we don't want to build a building, let's spend it on something else. But we need to spend it. We need to use it.
I would love to build a building, but if anybody thinks they can build a usable building between now and December 30th, they're crazy. The building material situation right now is desperate. I mean, nobody can make promises on when you can have things. It's bad. It's really bad.
Well,
plus we're going to lose weather here in just a couple of weeks. The weather's going to be unpredictable.
And that you just brought up is what a lot of the mayor's meetings and township meetings with the state and county officials and federal officials are all saying. We can do this project and we want to spend it on this, and you tell us it's available, but we have to have it done, and there's not enough materials to do it, or there's not enough laborers to do it because because every municipality now says, hey, I want to redo HVAC units, and everybody's booked up now through next year already.
Right. I mean,
And
to
so
say
that's-
that
and
it could
that's
be
why they-
usable by December 30th is just not, that's not legitimate.
And-
That's,
Yeah.
I give that no credence.
And that's why there's the rumor that they're going to extend that deadline but we're also 6 weeks out from it and they haven't done it yet.
Right. We'd have to plan it before they extend it, and we'd have to take that chance.
And
Yeah.
it sounds like we need to assess and determine the availability of whatever it is first before we
Right.
can even.
Let me read something real quick to you, and then I can send this off to everybody to view. The CARES Act provides that payments from the fund may only be used to cover the following. First, are necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to the COVID disease. Number two, were not accounted for in the budget most recently approved as of March 27th, 2020. That's the date of the CARES Act commencement. And number three, were incurred during the period that begins on March 1st and ends on December 31st. So there are very stringent guidelines, and I can send this out to everybody so you can read this.
Right. Now, some of the things that we can also, especially if we're not looking at, a building for $100,000, some of the things that we can add on there that, again, I know are already good. We could look at additional uniforms for the officers. A lot of police departments and fire departments are getting officers and firefighters an additional uniform or 2 or 3, or in case of fire departments, turnout gear. That way, in case they come in contact with someone with COVID during their shift, they can go back into a decontamination station at the station, take off those contaminated clothes, and they have a fresh uniform available. So there is stuff like that we could do for the police department. I guess arguably we could even argue that, additional shirts for the guys, water, wastewater, and street, since they have public interaction. So those are some things we could add on to as well. If we, don't, if we come up with something and it's not the full $108,000. So, Carrie, Jeff, you guys got your list of things to check on?
I
This is,
did. I've been writing away.
and this is the issue. I don't think that we can wait till next week. Again, the timeline is short. I think we need to do it. Well, Wednesday is Veterans Day, so maybe the only choice we have is Thursday.
Jeff, you think you can get answers by Thursday?
I'll try my best. So I believe I can.
I think it can be done. I'll do some work too, Jeff. We'll get together tomorrow and talk, okay?
Sure.
Is there any room on the lot, the property where the current building stands for any type of expansion? HVAC in combination with an expansion at all?
I will tell you that when the BDRC put in the units that are down underneath the steps, those were in the neighboring property. Those are not. So that whole ramp.
That are
those
below the
units.
ramp? Interesting.
And the ramp, those are not, and this is what Tim is telling me, they are not, not within, it may encroach a little bit upon the neighboring property.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yeah.
About up there by the old Balsall Firehouse, from the existing building and go east to the alley. I don't know how much room you got there, but there's nothing in there.
That's what we were talking about, Mr. Hamilton. That was the location I was referencing.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the firehouse down there where they work now.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry,
Okay.
it's the
No.
Basel.
All right. Well, in the next day or so, if anybody else thinks of anything that we might be able to, that might fall within that rubric, and we want Jeff to confirm whether or not it would be an appropriate expenditure, shoot an email, give Terry a call, give Jeff a call so that we can get that checked. There is a P&Z meeting at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Would everybody be available at like 6 o'clock for a Zoom call to go over what Jeff and Terry find out and further discuss this?
I would.
I'm available.
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm
no,
good.
I can't. I'm not available.
Bob's available.
Yeah. Wait, I'm available.
What day, what time?
Chuck's good.
Thursday at 6, or even since we are virtual, I know I'm going to back up the date a little bit. Wednesday evening, or is that too short of a notice for you, Jeff?
It's
Wow.
a holiday.
Veterans Day.
Yeah, and it's Veterans Day. If that makes
It
a
is.
difference.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a day. I don't know if, I know courts are closed, but I don't know if you have to call Bricker if they would be closed on Veterans Day or if they would be in the office.
I don't know. My game plan is to reach out to them tomorrow morning. I don't know if they'll be able to give us feedback by within 24 hours or not.
Well, okay. Why don't we do this instead of setting, since Brandy's not available Thursday at 6?
I have conferences, but I mean, I can have my phone possibly a way I could check in if I.
Oh, it is. It is time. So why don't we do this, Jeff? When you reach out to Bricker, let us know, and then we can just figure out when we can get something, and then we can start to try to figure out. Because if they say it's, because of the holiday, it might be until Friday before they could get us confirmation on some of that.
Right.
So why don't we wait until we find out when Bricker will be able to get it to us, and then we can email everybody and call the couple of you to get a time going.
That sounds like a better game plan.
Okay. All right. And again, if you think of anything, send it to Jeff ASAP.
So that became a maybe
So
Wednesday then?
It became it could be a Wednesday, might be a Friday.
Okay.
I'm
good.
We're going to wait until we know. Yeah, we're going to wait until we know from
Information.
Bricker when we'll get the decision, and then we'll figure out a time.
Huh.
All right. What do I do with my agenda here? I have nothing else. That was my big thing. So Terry, your turn.
Okay. Let me pull up my report. Okay, so again, I just gave you a little bit of verbiage about the paper mill discharge project. As you can see, the first billing went out to them for what we call the extra sewer, and that amount of the first billing to them was $12,080.70. That billing amount represents 31 days with at least a minimum use of 90,000 gallons. They are not discharging 90,000 gallons. I will have a graph that shows you that at service, but they are well underneath this amount. Now, Brad did talk to the mill, and from what we're understanding is that after the first of the year, we may see more flow, but right now the flows are low. So going on to the I&I project, that kind of taken a backseat right now because we were trying to get the OPWC's project submitted and et cetera. So we'll be looking at that come the first of the year and be back on that so that we can get our first report made to the EPA. Going on to street projects, as you can see, the OPWC Water Street project is pretty much wrapped up. We did have a little issue with the installation of the sidewalk across from the fire station. That was resolved, I believe, The only open issue that we have right now with the whole project is that several trees on that property were cut down that weren't supposed to be cut down. So I'm working with V3 and also with the paving company and their subcontractor to get that resident some financial resource for the reinstallation of some of those trees. A lot of them were, trees that have just grown up and weren't trimmed and are what we call like fence row or scrub trees, but there were a couple of trees there that they were using for privacy, basically. Along with this project, I think you heard me say, if not in another meeting, but just to reiterate, the school has decided that where the new sidewalk comes off of and enters into Tower, the school is now going to put funds in to put a new ADA ramp so that someone could basically get on the sidewalk in a wheelchair on Main Street and travel all the way down to school and have ADA accessibility. So I think it was really nice of the school to kind of put the finished trimmings on that project, because that was not a part of the project itself. We're looking to probably close this project out next week. We have a couple of small things that we have to do yet, but looking to get this closed out. Our pothole patching has taken a little bit of a backseat, but you will notice that on number 2 under alleys, the alley between West Jefferson and West Elmwood, which was very deplorable and has been ever since I've gotten here. I mean, they had massive craters in it that a car could get lost in. We did that. We did complete that job last Friday. So that alley, again, working on the through alleys per council's direction, that alley was completed. As far as the waterline projects, the North Basel, we do have the PTI for that, but we're just waiting to reestablish a timeline, maybe sometime next year, looking at grants and et cetera. The Romulus waterline replacement is kind of on hold because it looks as if there was a leak there, it may have not been a water leak to the line. So we're taking, we have money that we put aside for it, I believe, but we're kind of taking a wait-see attitude about that whole area right now. So that's kind of on hold also. The other projects is the General Dollar store is moving along fantastically. As you know, his goal is to be up and running by the end of December. One of the things that I did do, I was able to talk to the owner after we got all of the pertinent things out of the way, such as signs and building and a layout and sewer and water, about the feral cats. I pointed out to him that one of the issues that I've had continuously, and it's gotten worse in the last year, is the feral cat population behind the general store because people are feeding the cats there. He guaranteed me that will not happen at this location. You know, like we talked about, it's close to the school, it's close to the bird sanctuary. The last thing that we need is someone saying to all the cats, come here, here's food, you know. So he was very understanding and guaranteed me that this store will not in anywhere reflect the back of the current dollar store, which has been a challenge for me, code enforcement wise. As you can see, Schaffner's got a late start on their building, so they just closed it up. We thought they were going to work on it while they were open, but now they're just starting construction and they have the area fenced off. So that is moving on too. That's going to be such a great addition to that area down there. So you'll notice that on this project sheet that I have also just let you know what projects are completed. I don't think I need to go over those, but I would like to draw your attention down to the OPWC projects. Those projects were due last Friday, and I hand delivered those to the county for a couple of reasons. The Friday prior to last Friday, the OPWC coordinator for District 17 either left her job or was let go. So there was no liaison there. So I hand delivered the projects to make sure that they got them instead of emailing them electronically, which was the executive board's wishes this year, but a lot of people hand delivered because of what's going on. Along those lines, I had a 9 o'clock meeting this morning with Abby DeHart, who is our state representative for District 17. We're in the process of selecting someone on a contract basis to go in and review all the projects and get them organized into like an Excel scoring sheet. We've made a lot of changes, the executive committee has. So this is going to be, because there is nobody there that had worked on this before, it's going to be a lot of work for whoever steps in and a lot of work for the executive committee. So starting probably I have a meeting next Friday, and then throughout the rest of the first of the quarter, I'll probably be in Friday meetings trying to meet those deadlines that the state is not going to move for us in regards to the OPWC projects. Having said that, if you remember, I had talked in the meeting and I said, I figure because of all the grants, of all the budget problems throughout Ohio, that the amount of projects that would be coming in would be higher, almost double than it was last year, where there was just a little over 80 projects. That did not happen. It looks like we have about the same number of projects. I haven't seen the final list, but that was something that I took away from the meeting. We submitted 2 projects. The one project was the Park Street repave project from East Cliff to include the pools, the Somerset Choice Road, the parking lot, and then a new sidewalk that would make it walkable for somebody who is coming off of Market Street to walk all the way to the pool, to the park, etc., and someone to come off of Dorchester and to do the same. So those projects were submitted. The other one was the Kumler Brown Fremont Water Loop project. This is the second time that I have submitted this project for a grant. Again, this is, we didn't even get a partial grant or anything from CDBG money that we had submitted this grant to. So this is another project. This is another grant process that I'm trying to do. Again, my goal is to keep the loan values that we would have to borrow. And in this case, we would have to borrow like $40,000. I work with Brian, and he believes that that is an amount that we can do without raising rates. So that's kind of where I am on the OPWC projects. I did want to say while I mentioned that raising rates, there will be a rate increase per your direction and by ordinance come January 1st. We do have a 3% increase in the sewer and water rates. That'll be done, and Brian has already did the footwork to make sure that that starts with the Jan 1 billing. That's my report. Does anybody have any questions? That was a lot, I know. Sorry.
That was a lot. So any questions and Bob, I noticed you're ended up on mute somehow. I know you don't usually do that. It's *6 to unmute yourself. So if you're saying anything, we can't hear you at the moment. So *6 to unmute. Any questions for Terry? All right, Brian.
Not much to report on. I let the council know that I have forwarded on to the mayor and Terry the appropriations for next year, a rough draft to be tweaked probably between now and, but look forward to reviewing that in depth in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, I got that, Brian. I'll email you a couple questions on it. I didn't get a long time to look at it before the meeting today. So tomorrow, at some point I'll look at it, and I know I have a few questions or to shoot off, so it shouldn't be too bad though. All right, Jeff, you got anything?
No, other than what we've already talked about, there are no first readings on the agenda, and one ordinance on for second reading, one for a third. That's all I have.
All right. Finance Committee.
Okay, I think everybody was there. If not, I guess to highlight our health care is only going to go up 4%, thanks to Terry. And
Oh, I can't take credit for that. That's Brian and I.
oh, you can't?
I'll take it, but Brian and I are working on that together. But Tony did most of it. Tony is our agent, so I can't. I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, and on the current bonds, we'll be looking to do a set rate on those instead of variable. And on the financials, just wages in the sewer fund. There's anything that's questionable right now. And our next meeting is December the 14th at 6 p.m.
All right. Questions for finance? All right. Service.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting since the last meeting, and our next service meeting is the 23rd.
All right. And safety?
We haven't had one since last meeting. Everybody was there and got briefed on it and that. And I have to look up when our next meeting is.
Should be it'd be the 23rd if we have a meeting on that day. No, not 23rd. 25th, 4th, 3rd, 21st.
21st? Thank you, sir.
So, rules.
Okay, Mayor, we met tonight right after finance. We had two main things on the agenda. The cemetery fee. Terry's setting up a committee with her, Kim, and Barb. I thought there was somebody else, maybe not. But they're going to look into it with this committee. And who's that?
Missy, Barb,
Missy. I knew
Tim, and myself.
I knew there was. Yeah, I thought there was 4, and I couldn't think of the other one was. But anyhow, they're going with that committee. They're going to come up with something maybe the first year, and we'll keep the cemetery fee as a goal for the next year as on the rules committee. Then we talk about ordinance 2020-35, which would kick back the rules about the $150 fee to $300. It was talked about a month. Everybody was here tonight. We decided to amend the ordinance that anything less than 100 square feet, a 10x10 shed, 100 square feet, would not have to pay a fee. And like I said, that'd be on the second reading tonight. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. And I imagine, Jeff, when we come up to the second reading for that ordinance, we'll want a motion from council to amend it
Correct.
At that point. So, all right. Moving on. Police Department. Chief.
Thanks, Mayor. Our report for last month is out and kind of just shares a little bit of the activity where it's located, things along that line. We still have several investigations ongoing. As you know, we've talked in the past, it was very time consuming. We received our grant money back for the ballistic vests that we had purchased. That's been turned into finance. So they now have that. And we've had a total of 3 officers out with COVID. One just got tested today, but he'll still be out through the 14th. And that's all I have.
All right. Questions for the chief? Fire board would be next. I need to we'll do that in January. I talked to Steve over the weekend, saw him. They are having meeting here shortly too. They're in the same issue we are with spending CARES money. He did also tell me that one of their medics is that they had planned on replacing in a couple of years has some corrosion issues underneath, like they have. Apparently the brine underwash didn't get to that medic early enough, and they may have to replace a medic early next year, a little bit 2 years ahead of schedule. And they're trying to figure out how to do that at this time. And I believe that was one of the medics up at Station 611. So moving on, planning and zoning. I mentioned earlier, we've got a meeting this Thursday at 7 to continue on our discussion of bed and breakfast, short-term rentals, Airbnbs. The topic for this particular meeting on the agenda will be Terry has sent out information benchmarking what other communities are doing or not doing with regards to those types of businesses, so that we can see what's out there and have a discussion again, eventually coming to a decision of whether or not it's necessary for us to do anything. So we're just a very systematic approach to that happened to be interrupted by COVID and inability to meet. And that's Thursday at 7. So
Cool. Is that a Zoom meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And will I get an invite and the other Airbnb people in town get an invite? Or are we on the public?
I mean, if you guys want it, because you guys have listened in, I mean, you can listen to it on YouTube. It'll be published there.
I just think that the only two in town, or actually there's more than that,
Yeah.
if you wanted to count, ought to be invited or made aware of the meeting.
Well, it's Thursday at 7.
Okay. So we won't get an invite by email?
I mean, I just said we can send you one, or you can watch it on YouTube.
Well, I'd like to get one, and I would like for the other Airbnb in town to get one as well. We have their contact information, don't we?
I don't know. I know they came to a meeting and we invited them, but I don't know if that was via email or telephone.
Okay. I will reach out to them and make sure that they're aware of it.
Yeah. And then we can get that. I'll send that information to Barb.
Yeah, because on
tomorrow.
YouTube you can't really interact, right?
That is correct. Well, no. Yeah, because you can't talk back on YouTube.
Right. So I would think that they should be allowed to have a voice or be able to speak.
So, and again, the topic on this one will be what other communities are doing. I don't know. Do they have Airbnbs in other communities as well? Or is it
No,
just
they
here?
don't. I think their only one is right here in town.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and with just one other person, it won't be unwieldy.
Right. Nobody's trying to do that.
They're not going to talk over us like has happened at other municipalities Zoom meetings.
No, they're very respectful.
Yeah.
At that meeting,
so we'll get.
but at that meeting, Mayor, we're just going to review the information that was sent out, correct? To the members?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So no decisions will be made there.
No, because this is just the next part. Because I was doing it kind of like a hearings process. We talked to owners, and then we talked to neighbors and area residents, and then the third part of that was going to be an evaluation of what other municipalities are doing. And then after we have all that information, then the next meeting was going to be the open discussion. Do we need to do anything? Do we not want to do anything? If we do want to do something, what do we want to do type stuff?
So no decision will be made at that meeting. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Right. No decision made at this Thursday's meeting.
Okay.
All right.
That changes my perspective.
Yeah, and in fact, with the exception of discussion of what other municipalities are doing, well, you know how the committee works sometimes. I don't want to get into the full discussion of how everything applies, and I don't want to start the whole discussion yet for is it appropriate for Baltimore to do or not. Again, I just want Thursday to be, this is what other municipalities are doing. How would that look here, but not actually make a decision on is it something appropriate to do here.
Okay.
So yeah, the short of it, no decisions on
That's
Thursday.
all I needed to know whether I needed to be there. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Tree Commission. Oh, Terry. there
Sorry,
you go.
I was on mute. There I am. Tree Commission, we're probably not going to have a meeting until the beginning of the year. We put in for the budget for the 5,000 like we used to do for Tree City USA. And I have to have all the documentation submitted to the state by December 8th. So I'm working on that project right now. So that's where I'm at.
All right, cool. Records Commission, we haven't met recently from COVID though. Brian, with the budget mostly, well, at least from your end, put together right now, of course, we'll be having the discussions about it and stuff. There are boxes back there. Could you start to go through those boxes, one here, one there, and list it out so that when we do have an opportunity to be able to get together, or I guess at this point, Records Commission is so small, those of us on it could in fact meet in the council chambers and be spaced. So if you could start going through those boxes and logging what's on there to be destroyed, maybe we can look at having a meeting early next year to get some of that stuff destroyed.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Moving on. No listed motions. Anybody have any motions? Hearing none. First readings, none. Second reading, ordinance 2020-35. This is an ordinance amending chapter 260, schedule of fees of the Baltimore Codified Ordinances to create a fee for a demolition permit. Sponsor is Keller.
Okay, Mayor, this is the second reading on ordinance. It was recommended at the last meeting to take this back to the Rules Committee. It was discussed tonight. We amended it with a vote of 2-1 that any square feet of under 100 square feet, 10 by 10, 100 square feet would not be charged for a demolition fee. So I'd like to have Jeff rewrite, add that amendment to it, so it'll be on the third reading next meeting.
So
Sounded
Chuck,
like a motion.
Chuck, just for clarity, there'd be no fee charge, but would the property owners still need to apply for a demolition permit?
Yes, they still need to be, yes, but
Okay.
they won't be charged anything 100 square feet.
Okay.
And Jeff, the 100 square feet is a direct cross-reference to our zoning code for building permits. A structure that is less than 100 square feet does not, they have to fill out an application, but they don't get charged a permit fee and they don't get issued a permit. So it's a direct cross-reference to the zoning code.
Okay.
All right, so there was the motion to make that amendment. Is there a second on that motion to amend? Ooh,
I'll second that.
Brandy
That's fine.
talked. Okay. McCreary second. Further discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none. Roll call.
Okay. Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
No.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes,
McCreary.
Yes.
All right. 5-1, we'll do the amendment and have the amended language for third reading. You got everything you need, Jeff, to
I
make
do.
that?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so that'll be on for a reading at our third reading at our next meeting, which is November, what was that?
23rd.
What is our next meeting? 23rd? Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to third readings. Ordinance 2020-33, an ordinance amending Chapter 452 of the Baltimore Codified Ordinances, parking penalty, to establish a minimum fee and payment method for parking violations. Sponsor is Hamilton.
Well, going through the other two, I did not read it over, man. That's what the fee was now. But we just need to pass it tonight.
Yep, this is the one that is
25,
the, yeah, to set a fine for parking violations so that they're not must-appear tickets, so that they're waiverable, so that on the off chance the police department has to issue one, someone could just come in and pay for it and doesn't have to actually come to court for a parking infraction. And I believe we set it at $25 plus the court costs.
Right. Correct.
All right, Mike, we got a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Ordinance
Keller seconds.
2020-33.
All right. All right. Hamilton motion, Keller second to adopt 2020-33. Further discussion on this ordinance and the motion to adopt. Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Cosgray,
Yes.
Orman,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
All right. 2020-33 will be adopted. It does not carry emergency language, so it will be 30 days before it goes into effect. Moving on, old business. There's none on the agenda. Does anybody have any old business? All right. Anybody have any new business?
I do. I'll
Okay.
make it quick. I'm in the process of doing yearly evaluations. I believe that they need to be to the council by the first meeting in December, the results of those, and I will have them ready for you. The other thing is I think next year, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we need to redo or look at the pay plan. I believe it either was due this year and we didn't do it, or we do that every, what is it, Jeff, 2 years?
That's my recollection, Terry, but I can't say for sure. So.
Okay. I believe it is. So.
Well, why don't we, for the pay plan then, because that would probably go through rules, since rules does employee handbook and stuff, why don't we just add that as a goal for, keep that on the list, and that'll be one of the goals for rules next year.
Oh, perfect. Look at that, Chuck. You're getting your rules really assigned right away.
All right. Any other new business? All right. Let me check. I just checked a few minutes ago and didn't see any emails come in or comments online, so no visitors. So any council have any last call?
Hey, Terry, this
Mayor, I do have one.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I
just want to mention.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay. On Cliff Street there, they got a camper sitting in their driveway on 313 Cliff,
Okay.
and there's no way that people backing out of their driveways can see down the street. So
Okay.
it is kind of a nuisance. So that's it.
Thank you.
Mayor, Mayor.
Yes.
Just after we get done on that, could you give me a quick call at my house here?
Sure.
Did somebody else, Chuck,
All right.
did you have something for me?
Yeah, Mayor, I do have one thing. I got a text yesterday from a member from the VFW banquet, and they said they really enjoy hearing Mike Tussey talk. So I wasn't there, but Mike,
Aw.
they thought you gave a great speech.
Good
Well,
job, Chief.
I certainly do appreciate that. And as I told everybody out there, it's my 14th year of being invited out for the anniversary celebration, and it's truly an honor to get to spend time with all of our veterans that reside in and around Baltimore. They're just an absolutely outstanding group of people.
Yes, they are.
Good deal. Thanks for passing that along, Chuck.
Okay, my
All right.
pleasure.
Anybody else have anything? All right. If not, our next meeting will be November 23rd at 7:30, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Foreman so moves.
Second.
Foreman moves, Hamilton second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
All opposed. Meeting
No.
is adjourned.
Kidding.
Good night, everyone.
Meeting
We'll
is
see you
adjourned
later,
for everybody
Terry.
but Terry.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.